So I like to distinguish innovation from inventions. To me, those are two different things. And to me, invention is the first occurrence, the first appearance of a governance arrangement that is different, qualitatively different from existing one. So for example, NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, was, to me, it is an invention because no trade agreement at that time looked exactly like it. But today, several trade agreements are very similar to NAFTA. So in contrast, to me, innovation is a process, right? And it's the successful application, the successful diffusion of an existing invention. So basically, every innovation begins as an invention, but not every invention becomes at one point innovation. Some invention remain isolated experiments. They are not widely used, widely replicated. I'll give you two examples. One is the International Seabed Authority's enterprise. The second one is the Montreal Protocol's majority voting rule for the adoption of amendments. Those are invention in the sense that they are quite unique. But to me, they are not innovation in the sense they are not widely used and widely replicated in global governance. I'll say not only innovations are important, but even inventions. So even those that are not widely adopted, widely used, I think are important because they expand the policy toolbox available for policymakers. And sometimes we see that an innovation that has failed to actually solve the original problem that it was designed to solve later provides a solution to an entirely different problem. So I think every invention contributes to institutional diversity, and we know that diversity is important to get resilience, to get adaptation. Just like in ecology, right? In ecology, you want genetic diversity because we know that even though diversity does not necessarily provide you with what might appear to be optimal for a given time, over the long run, it's important to have diversity to make sure that you have adaptation. And I think it's the same for global governance. I think it's even better than this. I think the more inventions you have, the more some policy bricoleur can combine different innovations to create something new. This is how, if you look at technology, if you look at philosophy, if you look at arts, most of the time people invent by combining in original ways what already exists. And I think it's the same for institutions, it's the same in global governance. When we have inventions, it's usually by combining what is available out there. Therefore, the more inventions you have around you, the easier it is to bricole, to combine them in an original way and to increase the institutional diversity. I think there are basically two ways to innovate. You can refine, experiment, see what works, what doesn't work. So I'll do something different. Okay. How policymakers can invent new things? I think it's basically by combining what is already out there and by refining what is available to them. Now, if you're asking me how do they innovate, I think it's basically a three-step process. So first, you need diversity. You need to have experiment, try different things, perhaps with different partners. The second step is to have feedback loop to see what works. It's very difficult to know ex ante what will work, but it's much easier to know ex post when you try different things to see what actually worked. And the third step is actually to select those inventions that actually seem to work for a given purpose and to replicate it elsewhere.